Okay, let's be real. Have you ever wondered why starting hard work feels like an actual battle against your own brain? Well, today we're unpacking a super powerful idea that could completely flip that switch, making those difficult tasks feel not just easier, but almost effortless.
Now, this statement, it pretty much challenges everything you probably think you know about motivation. And it turns out this common misunderstanding about dopamine, well, it's the very reason so many of our best efforts at self-discipline just kind of fizzle out and fail. So let's start by digging into what our source material calls the great dopamine lie and really rethink how our motivation actually works. Yeah, so we usually think of dopamine as that little treat we get after we finish something, right? The reward, but that's the myth. The truth is, dopamine is the chemical of anticipation. It's a signal that fires before you even take action, telling your brain whether something is worth going after in the first place. At its absolute core, dopamine is a learning signal. Your brain is constantly, and I mean constantly, asking one simple question about everything you do. Hey, was that worth doing again? Dopamine is what gives the yes or no answer, and that answer instantly shapes what you'll do in the future. So here's the kicker. It's not about how good something feels in a vacuum. It's all about how it stacks up against what you predicted would happen. If an experience is better than you expected, you get a dopamine spike. If it's worse, even if it's still pretty good, dopamine drops. Your brain is just constantly updating its map based on these little surprises. Okay, so now let's look at how this whole system creates something called the prediction trap. This is the very reason procrastination can feel so impossible to shake. Just think about a task you've been putting off right now. I bet before you even think about starting it, your brain has already made up its mind. It's predicted that the experience is going to be slow, it's going to be boring, and it's going to be hard. That negative prediction is locked in before you've written a single word. And this is the trap. Because you're starting with such a low expectation, the actual work almost never feels good enough to overcome it. Even if you get it done, it fails to beat that negative prediction. So your dopamine levels stay flat, and your brain just makes a little note that says, "See? Told you so. Let's avoid that next time." This really just frames the problem perfectly. Trying to use willpower is like trying to patch a huge crack in a wall with a little bit of duct tape. Yeah, it might hold for a minute, but you're fighting the underlying structure of the building, and that is a battle you are always, eventually, gonna lose. Pure brute force just burns you out. So, if just gritting your teeth and using willpower are the wrong tools for the job, what's the right one? I mean, how do you actually change these deep-seated structural predictions your brain keeps making about hard work? Well, the solution is what we can call a four-step rewrite. This isn't about finding more discipline out of thin air, it's about rewriting the code your brain is running before you even begin. This four-step process completely re-engineers your approach. And notice, none of these are really about the work itself. They're all about managing your brain's state around the work. So, let's break them down. All right, step one is all about hijacking your brain's incredible power of association. If you create a consistent pre-work ritual, like listening to the same song every time or doing the same quick stretch, you start teaching your brain a new pattern. Over time, it learns that this ritual predicts a good, focused session, and it'll start giving you a little hit of dopamine in anticipation, making it way easier to just get going. Step two is all about clarity. You see, your brain doesn't actually resist effort. It resists unclear effort. A goal like work for 2 hours is vague and kind of scary. But open the file and write 3 lines? That is a tiny, guaranteed win. Your brain can easily predict completing that. And that simple little victory creates all the momentum you need. Now for step three, you gotta remember that your brain needs feedback. It needs proof. Without it, it just assumes nothing's happening. So you have to give it constant, visible signals of progress. Checking things off a list, seeing a timer tick down, even just watching your pen move across the paper, all of this is evidence that tells your brain, hey, this is working, we're actually moving forward. And finally, step four. This is where we tap into the brain's absolute love of novelty. Don't give yourself the exact same reward every single time. Mix it up, make it variable. Maybe sometimes it's a short break, sometimes it's a snack, sometimes you just feel good and keep working. When your brain can't predict the reward pattern, it pays way more attention to the task itself. It gets hooked on the process, not just the prize at the end. So what's the long-term payoff for all this? Well, this whole four-step process creates an automatic loop. You're essentially installing a new operating system that makes hard work feel, effortless. And this is the ultimate goal. Through this process,
your brain's fundamental rule about work gets rewritten. The dopamine hit, that feeling of satisfaction, it's no longer tied to finishing the task. It's now attached to starting it. The anticipation itself becomes the reward.
You know, if there's one number to remember from all of this, it's 5. 5 seconds. The entire game is won or lost in how you engineer the first 5 seconds of a task. If you can make that initial moment feel rewarding and clear and full of positive anticipation, the rest just kind of takes care of itself. And this is where you want to end up. The system becomes self-sustaining. The loop just runs on its own. You stop having to push yourself. Instead, you feel this natural pull towards the hard things, almost like gravity. It just becomes the brain's preferred path, not the one it's always trying to avoid.
This right here is the ultimate reframe. We're all conditioned to chase that feeling of accomplishment we get at the very end. But what if the real secret is to fall in love with the feeling of just beginning? The goal is to make starting so compelling, so rewarding, that hard work becomes the most irresistible choice you have.